Hey y'all, Ham here. So sauce on the phone. I am making a Italian meat sauce. Some people call it Sunday gravy. I don't agree with that. It's not a chopped meat sauce. This is a Sunday sauce. Just pick some extra basil from my garden. Go. And so I know a lot of people sometimes want to make it themselves. I want some advice on maybe how to do it, and I wanted to put some cooking stuff on this channel as well. So here goes. So depending on the size of the army you're trying to feed, and we all know as Italians, whether we're feeding 1 or 10, we make enough for 40. So you want to, I like to use a lot of olive oil to start off, and I found that if you use like, the general consensus is like using about 4 cans. Now don't judge me that I'm not using Italian tomatoes. These are cheaper and mama's on a budget. So about that size, sometimes bigger. Use about 4 cans. I use 2 because I find that I started to use 2. This one is actually 3, but the less amount you use, the easier it is to balance your flavors sometimes. If you're someone who's not used to making a sauce, so maybe start off with 2 cans. So, 2 cans, ha 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 ha, follow your nose. Okay. So what you want to start off with is take like a medium onion. You don't want a lot of onion in your sauce. If you put sugar in your sauce, that's a sin. The tomatoes are sweet enough. Never add any kind of sugar to your sauce. Even when you buy jar sauces, find the ones that don't have sugar added, because they're definitely going to taste better. Try to buy sauces that are from maybe from Italy, or maybe from parts of the United States where they're used to making tomato sauce, like, you know, the Northeast. And you'll definitely taste the difference, and like you'll like your pasta better. And I'm actually going to be sinning and using some gluten-free pasta, because I don't know, I'm trying to make a couple changes in my diet, and that seems to make my stomach feel better. And I know it's not for everybody, but having a thyroid condition, it is also recommended to me to be on a more gluten-free diet. I know what they say is that to gain the full benefits of gluten-free, you have to eat completely 100% gluten-free. I just try to do it as often as possible. Doesn't always work out. We all love pizza, you know, things like that. So I would take, so this is 3 cans. I kind of used a little bit too much oil this time, but oh, who cares? Delicious and greasy. And probably too much onion, but that's okay. So if you take like a medium-sized onion, now this has already been chopped up, so use about half of it and chop it up. So what you want to start to do is put your oil in a pan. I'd say about half a cup. Coat the bottom of the pan, essentially. You don't want it to be like a big well of oil at the bottom, but you want to, you know, at least coat the bottom of the pan, but make it so that you can see it. You want, the oil's going to absorb a lot of the flavor. So chop up your onions, you know, medium to fine, you know, like maybe like this size-ish. And you want to start with your onions. You're going to be layering flavors. So even though you have 2, 3, 4 cans of tomato sauce, you're not putting them all in at once. You don't wait forever to put them in, but you start with maybe 2 cans, and then 2 cans, and then add whatever else. If you're only working with 2 cans, start with 1, and then build your flavor past that. So you want to get your oil going and get your onions in there first. Now, a lot of people say wait till they're about translucent. I personally found that if you let them go a little longer, almost caramelizing them a tiny bit, especially if you're making a meat sauce, you'll get a lot more flavor out of it. Now, a lot of people like to brown their meat first. I didn't particularly do that with this because I'm not a genius with that. I haven't like experimented with that yet, so I didn't want to mess it up. But if you want, while the onions are going, you can brown the meat, and then you're going to scrape the pan. You want all that delicious at the bottom of the pan. And as you're cooking your sauce, you want to keep scraping the bottom of the pan, because all that flavor, all that concentrated flavor is going to be then put into your sauce. So you want to get those onions going. I'll put a little bit of my garlic. I like to chop up a lot of garlic, because just think, it's a big vat of sauce. You need a lot of flavor. Oregano isn't something I necessarily put in. That's not really what I would use. Is like an Italian seasoning that has like a mix of everything in it. But your main flavor is going to be basil, like actual basil leaves. I happen to have a plant outside, so I use a ton of basil. Like 2 big handfuls, really, you know. And that's another thing you're layering in. So as the onions are cooking, put some of your garlic in too into that oil. You really want to flavor that oil good. I'll even put some salt in there too. If you're browning your meat, brown it. I will brown my chopped meat, like I'll cook my chopped meat, but if I had like short ribs and like some sirloin, and I was afraid of like cooking it too much. I'm not like I said, I don't necessarily know how to brown meat, so I just kind of put it into the sauce. Like I put it on top of the oil, gave it a minute, and threw my first couple cans in. So then what you're gonna do is throw all of your garlic in now. You're gonna put a bunch of basil in. I know I saw this meme on Facebook that Italians don't measure their seasonings. They just keep shaking them in until the souls of their ancestors whisper into their ears, "Enough, child." It's just from like doing it. So I mean, people, like my mom sometimes gives me some measurements, but it's really all trial and error. So just think, you're seasoning a lot, but still don't overdo it at the same time. I don't put black pepper in my sauce. I used to. You can put a tiny bit. If you put too much, you will ruin it. You will taste it. It burns. It's just like, it's not, you don't really need a lot of black pepper. You could shake a little bit in. You want to put salt in as you go too. Make sure you're shaking salt in because you're seasoning, you know. But just remember, it's going to reduce down too. So all those flavors will eventually reduce down. At first, it's not going to look like much, but just like any sauce, soup you make, that's what happens. So your garlic's in, your basil's in now at this point. I sprinkle some Italian seasoning in. Basically, my rule of thumb is I kind of coat the top, and then I add onion powder, just a little bit, and then garlic powder. The main flavor is garlic. Onion will make your sauce sweeter. The more onion you use, the sweeter it'll be. I used whole tomatoes and crushed tomatoes, and then I kind of crush. You could squeeze them in your hands. You can do whatever you want. I usually use a masher, but I only had a whisk. So my whisk, I'm trying to crush up the tomatoes, but crushed tomatoes, and you can use whole tomatoes. So I actually used 2 cans of whole tomatoes and 1 can of crushed. And then you're gonna let that simmer for a little while. You're not gonna put it on high heat. I have it on a medium right now because I want it to get going. So after you pour each can in, fill the can up with a little bit of water, shake it around, and pour that in too. This sauce is really gonna reduce, and you're gonna need that water to like bring it back to life. And you don't want it to reduce so bad that it's like a paste and then all your flavors are so concentrated that it's like, whoa, you know, you want it balanced. So as that's simmering for a little while, then you're going to want to add your last remaining cans. I don't know, you can wait like 15 minutes, less, more, you know, not like hours. You're gonna add your other cans. Then you're gonna add more seasonings, more garlic powder, more garlic, some onion powder, some more of your Italian seasoning, and some salt, and more basil leaves. So now, right now, my top's on because I want it to start getting, can you see? Yeah, I want it to start going, right? Eventually, I'm gonna kind of put the top to the side, but you need it to start bubbling and you need it to start going. Oh, it smells so good already. Oh my God. I remember Sunday dinners like dipping bread in while it's cooking. So you want that to start to reduce. Minimum 2 hours. The longer the better. So let this go for a while. Eventually, you know, it's on like a low medium, like medium, but a little bit under medium heat. And then eventually you're going to lower to simmer. And like I said, minimum of 2 hours. Some people cook it all day long, and as it's reducing, you're getting a little bit more water. My grandmother used to put chicken broth in hers as well. That's just, you know, sometimes people will do that, you know, instead of water or whatever. Dog, you have to wait. So yeah, so just let it go. Check on it every once in a while. Stir it up. Scrape the bottom of your pan. And even like a couple hours in, if you want to add a little bit more garlic, a little bit more basil, whatever, go for it. Like definitely taste it after an hour, 2 hours, whatever, or at least after an hour, and just see where it's at. Everyone has their own recipe. Everyone has their own way of calling it. The clock is running, so I'm just kind of giving you a basic. As far as measurements go, like I said, with your seasonings, like onion powder, less than garlic powder. Italian seasoning, you know, just enough to kind of coat the top. I want to say like maybe half a teaspoon, you know, like not like tablespoons, you know, like maybe teaspoons, a couple teaspoons kind of thing. And then make sure you get that salt in there, but don't over salt it. Like I said, it's gonna reduce. And if it reduces too much, just add some more water and it'll start kind of coming back to life. And make sure you have your cup of coffee with you and enjoy your day. So this is my Sunday meat sauce that I'm making on a Tuesday, which happens to be a Jewish holiday. But I used short ribs and sirloin, so we'll see how it turns out. Like I said, I didn't brown my meat, but it's a good idea to brown your meat if you know how to do it, because you can really scrape the bottom of that pan and get those flavors in there. And all this fat, it's gonna be a greasy ass sauce, and all that olive oil. I put a little bit too much this time, but man, does it make flavor. So I hope I wasn't talking too fast, but I see the clock ticking. I don't want it to go too long. And I just wanted to give a basic kind of narrative of how it's done. All right, you guys look great. Good luck. Good cooking. Happy cooking. I hope you cook for your families. It's so much better than eating out, even though eating out tastes good too. So, bye, beautiful people. Enjoy your sauce.